Does anyone know how many muscles are involved in walking? I'd like to hear some guesses.
95.
5,
2.
2, 10,
1.
I want to say like
15.
1,000.
It has to be an even number.
I think it's like
1,000.
30.
I want to say 900.
Okay, 96. Sorry to disappoint everyone, not even close. There are actually over 200 muscles involved in walking.
Wow.
It's incredible. My physical therapist told me if there's anything ever goes wrong, it can take up to a year to retrain your gait because it's so complex. I'd like to demonstrate with my lovely assistant, Carol. Just watch as she's walking, and I'm kind of going to talk about when she's walking, the first step she takes, she's lifting, let me go this way, she's pushing off with her toe. Oh, there you go, okay, that's probably good.
That's enough, Carol.
Engaging her quad. Okay, Carol. You can come back now.
I like to see her walk.
Thank you very much. So what's so interesting, if you break it down, you actually look at someone walking very slowly. It's incredible to feel all the different muscles engaging. So for example, when you push off with your toe, you're engaging your hip, your quad, your knee, your ankle, your foot. And then when you start to move your toe, I'm gonna do this slowly, but probably not very nicely, you start lifting. And the lifting involves your quad, involves your hip flexors, involves your hip. There's so many, it involves your foot because your foot is actually lifting. And so then you plant, heel, down, toe, all these muscles. I was kind of watching my muscles in a mirror last night and going, you could actually see the different muscles engaging at different points of the walking process. So it's absolutely fascinating. The problem is, it's something we all take for granted, but the problem is when something goes wrong, you can imagine how difficult it is to set it right. And that's exactly what happened to me. So I think many of you know, I'm very open about it. In 2020, I was officially diagnosed with multiple sclerosis, or MS. And I say officially diagnosed because there were actually indicators for probably a couple, maybe even 3 years before then. One of the first indicators for me was something called foot drop. And what foot drop is when the top of your foot, so you can see, it doesn't lift properly. Sorry, balance is also a thing. It doesn't lift properly. So when I was walking, and this is I call my affected leg. So when I was walking, my whole leg wasn't lifting properly, and my toe would clip things. So I started to fall because I was trying to walk for exercise, and I would walk really fast, and then my toe would catch on a curve, and I would fall. And the more I fell, the less I wanted to walk. And so what happened was I stopped walking. I stopped walking for exercise. I stopped doing a lot of things. One thing that I did do a lot of was sit on my butt for work. And so what was happening, unbeknownst to me, partially because of my my condition, where my brain isn't sending signals fast enough to my body, but then I did myself a huge disservice by not continuing to move. Because what happened was, all of those important muscles involved in walking got weak. And so I started going to a physical therapist. We addressed the foot drop, and we were working on the ankle, we were working on the top of the foot to strengthen those muscles. But then the more we worked together, I was like, oh my God, my quads and my hamstrings are so tight, and it's making my knee hurt. And so what we looked at, had me walk, go up hills, everything. And what it turned out was, one of the reasons my quad and my hamstrings were so tight, and I mean like this tight, was because I wasn't engaging my glute and my hip, and all of my hip muscles, my core. So what started off as foot drop was actually my core muscles, my hip, my glutes. So you can see the complexity of retraining all of that, because it's been a year and I've had to go back now and start working a lot on my hamstrings, not my hamstrings, my glute muscles. Because what was happening when those muscles were weak, my quad and my hamstrings were firing in a time they shouldn't have been firing. So everything was off kilter. So now I'm on this journey. I'm on this journey to retrain my gait. And by that I mean to learn to walk again properly. As many of you know, I'm very interested in something called neuroplasticity. And that's the brain's ability to rewire connections and develop new connections. And I'm a huge believer in this. So as I'm going along on my journey, actually with the neuroplasticity, I'm gonna give another speech on that at some point and talk about how neuroplasticity and different types of techniques are being used remarkably for conditions like Parkinson's, for stroke patients. There's so many different ways that they're learning to make those new connections. But for now, so neuroplasticity is the second part of my journey. Something I want to say, one of the reasons I wanted to give this speech to all of you today is to let you know that I don't feel sorry for myself. This is a challenge for me, and I accept the challenge. I kind of do little experiments on myself every day. Well, what if I do this? What'll happen then? And so when you see me kind of hobbling, especially it's the worst in the morning because I haven't stretched out properly, and if I've been sitting, because everything kind of tightens up. You don't need to feel sorry for me. I'm okay. I'm working on this. I'm going along my journey and walking my walk, one step at a time.